it was a gradual thing. Like it was really over time. This guy's getting all the love. This guy's getting all the love and the recognition and the people talking to him and liking him and thinking he's this. But realistically, I wasn't that. I was just putting on a facade. It's just how far deep down can you dig till you're like, I'm stuck in this hole now, and I gotta like get the dirt back in to climb out.
Luke Broadlick is a dancer and choreographer that's toured with Britney Spears, Jason Derulo, the Jonas Brothers, Demi Lovato, and Justin Bieber. But I'm not trying to name drop or anything. He's also choreographed for both Magic Mike films and the Magic Mike Live in Las Vegas show. He's incredibly talented, and I had the honor of sitting down and chatting with this guy. In our conversation today, we talk about his journey through social media and how he felt trapped and pulled into this world of trying to gain more and more followers, and really along the way losing his own identity. This episode of The Ground Up Show is brought to you by nothing, because I don't do advertisements. But if you do want to help, you can head over to iTunes and leave a review and a rating for The Ground Up Show. It sounds complicated, I know, but it only takes 10 seconds. And all of these ratings really help to promote the show, and they help to get the word out. So if you want to help build and grow The Ground Up Show, you can help. Our conversation here, it kind of starts out running. We were talking about hip hop and freestyling, and I was going to edit it down and try to make it more of a clean intro, but I just had so much fun, and we got so into our conversation so quickly that I didn't want to kill the momentum. So you'll see what I mean, but I think you'll like it, and I think you guys are going to get a lot of value out of this episode. So let's get into it. You're listening to The Ground Up Show, a podcast that inspires creatives to make meaningful content and pursue their passions. My name's Matt Diavella, and I'm a filmmaker best known for the Netflix documentary Minimalism. And I'm sitting down with creators to talk about their process, the lessons they've learned, and how to make an impact. Was it incredible?
It was insane. And you wouldn't think that, Shia is Shia, so you kind of have to believe that he can do something. But he just dropped like 5 different styles of rap, and it was insane.
Really?
It was sway, and it was just...
But was it like... I mean, there's always the freestyle edge blurs, and
100%.
I'm
no
like,
one's
for
gonna
me,
be
I'm
really
like,
that
if it's dope,
accurate
it's dope.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if he like wrote it down.
Yeah.
Most rappers do. Like if you hear like Childish Gambino freestyle on Hot
all the
97,
time.
It's like, okay, there was a little bit of that in that mixtape he did. There was a little bit of that in that song that he did. But it's just free flowing.
Yeah. It's really nice because you can tell when they say something like, they'll go with the glass, and then they'll be like black cup, and then they actually use it. I don't want to be like, my mind is intellectual, and they just keep rapping about things that make no sense. You're just like, all right, that was definitely written.
You know who's the best with that? There was like this was back in the day when I was in high school, but Jin, he was this Asian rapper, and dude, there was that. Have you seen
I haven't. Dang, dude, I'm writing this down.
Yeah. Let me move this over.
You just had me mad hype. Oh yeah. You had me mad hype about Jin just now,
dude. Jin had some of the best freestyle, because he would do that. He would point out your shirt, and like, oh my god, he just murdered everybody. So there was, I forget what it's called, but it was Freestyle Fridays on BET, I think. And these videos, like, I would watch him all the time because he was just so good.
It was nasty. He was the Asian. I just remember because he was the Asian rapper. There wasn't an Asian rapper.
Yeah. There really was none there. It's funny because I remember. Like I like hip hop. I'm a fan of it, but I'm not like a hip hop head where all these people know everything. But I remember seeing he like did a rap battle with Sky Zoo, and Sky Zoo is now like an established rapper, and he's like got a really big following. Yeah. But it's just funny to see that those circles, how they interconnect, and how it is to kind of make it. That is such a. I just had Asher Roth on the podcast.
Oh, tight.
Yeah, I just interviewed him last Friday, so that's going to be next week.
So I used to work with Bieber and Scooter. Asher was his first artist.
Yeah, Asher was great, man, because he actually had that trajectory of going mainstream and like, getting signed to a big record label. Yeah. And he was like, I need to unplug from this. And I'm like, I can't create the art I want to create.
100%. And there's a certain commercial aspect that you kind of have to like let go of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't just sell because then you're gonna crash.
Yeah,
You're not you.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the fine line, and that's the balance. It's tough in the beginning because when you're starting out, for most people, they don't have money, they don't have attention, they have nothing,
So
and then
they're
they're
gonna
like,
go for it.
Sign me.
Yeah,
Sign
like
me.
I got you. What do you need me to say? Kit Kat bar? Kit Kat bar.
Yeah,
Kit
exactly.
Kat bar. I'll say it 100 times if you need me to.
Yeah,
I get it.
which is like, I think that's totally fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
And then it's about over time narrowing in on your vision and figuring out exactly the direction.
And it's also it's sort of like, what do you really want to do? I mean, if you want to sell, then you can sell. But if you don't want to sell, and just kind of be genuine to yourself, and it's like you learning yourself, you know what I mean? In any regard, really. So like some people will be commercial for their entire life and it's cool. And then some people will just, like nowadays I've noticed that people are, like, especially in hip hop, people are just wilding out and people are enjoying it. You know, and people are like, they're like, oh, that's who I am. And so then people are accepting it. Like, even when it comes to fashion, people are now just being with baggy tees and baggy jeans and not having a care, sort of, and it's being accepted. So I think people are just now kind of getting this, like, it doesn't matter as long as it's good, you know? And I think that's cool because now indie is cool again, and mainstream, like, commercial pop isn't as popular in a sense, you know?
Well, there was a time when, like, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Blink-182, when all the boy bands were coming out, a time when you could manufacture that and you could actually create this this image that would be successful. But these days, like you said, it's a lot different where I'm sure that that's still out there and it still is possible to do that, and there are artists that can be quote unquote manufactured, but for the most part people can see through that.
100%. I see it all the time because I'm friends with a lot of people that are manufactured, you know, and I can tell that, I mean, they tell me that they're not as happy and they want to create, but then they're like, oh yeah, my project, and they have to do what they have to do, but they're not being who they are. And it's just it's a fine line of really that, of like, who are you and what do you want to do?
Yeah, really. And it's fascinating because in a lot of ways, in this podcast, we're talking to people that are trying to build something from nothing, that are just getting started out. But there are people that are well established that others would look at as successful, but they need to restart themselves if they really want to pursue the passion and the stuff that they really enjoy and the art that they really want to create. They're going to have to unplug from the image that they've created to do something new. And then I think that's actually in a lot of ways harder, because then you get the criticism. There's going to be so many people from the start that are going to be like, this is stupid, this doesn't work, you're not being you.
That's actually really funny that you're saying that, because I sort of myself went through something like that. Through dance, I sort of, I kind of created my own image, I guess, in that sense, especially with social media and stuff, and seeing the rise of it a couple of years back. And I was becoming what I thought I wanted to be, instead of truly, like, deep down, I knew I shouldn't be doing like A, B, and C, but yet I was still doing them, you know? And so I had to literally stop who I was, and I just shut down. I like prayed. I did a whole like restart, literally a restart. Stopped getting followers. I stopped doing all these things, but I'm more happy and more genuine than I was. Like, I had this whole facade down, like, and made that look real, but it really wasn't. And I had to stop, restart, and now I'm actually happier doing what I'm doing, and now presenting myself in the way that I actually truly wanted to be.
It could be exhausting.
Presenting. Yeah, and it's like heartbreaking in a way, because you think you have it and you want it so bad, but then realistically you don't need it. You know, you don't need a lot of the things that you think that you need. Like, all my friends left me, you know, like all my friends weren't my friends anymore. They just thought that I was doing weird things. And I was like, actually, I'm being more genuine than I ever have been. I've like been more real with you guys now than I was. Like, who I was still cool, but it wasn't real. Even to myself, I was doing things and you guys were encouraging me. And then now that I'm actually choosing not to do that, then they leave, and then you are left alone. And so you're heartbroken, but you're but you're content with the fact that you made that decision to be genuine. And I think that's a huge thing. And I mean, that's like with people in the industry and everything, you have to be as genuine as possible.
How did you come to that realization? Was there like this moment, an epiphany where you're like, oh shit, like this doesn't feel right? Or was it kind of an accumulation of?
Everything happens over time. I mean, there's always like life-changing moments, but it was a gradual thing. Like, it was really over time. Like I just would do one thing that I knew I wouldn't do. I really wouldn't do, but Luke was doing. And so I had to like step back, like within the person who I am and the person who I was making. I had to look at the person who I'm making and be like, all right, be who I am and cut that out. But I wouldn't, because this guy's getting all the love. You know, this guy's getting all the love and the recognition and the people talking to him and liking him and thinking he's this. But realistically, I wasn't that. I was just putting on a facade. And it was just time and time until you start to break. I mean, the straw that breaks the camel's back, pretty much. Like, it's just how far deep down can you dig till you're like, I'm stuck in this hole now, and I gotta like get the dirt back in to climb out. Kind of thing.
Yeah, for you, it's challenging because you started so young. You started in the industry when you were a teenager. Yeah. And so obviously we just kind of hopped into this and just started running with it, which is great.
I was just, we were,
At some point the podcast started and I was like, I'm not going to stop this because it feels right.
Good. I mean, honestly, that's what's funny is conversation I always have with people is if I can have a conversation like this, it's cool. Like, it's just conversation, but then it actually is useful. But
yeah. That's what I'm trying to do is like, you have these conversations with people and creators. Yeah. And you're like, wow, that would be really cool if this was recorded. Like, people could get a lot of value out of this.
Do you know how many times and how many places and how many people I've been with where I've been like, oh, I wish I had this moment in my life that was it. Like, I wish we could have all seen. I wish I could have shown my mom this moment right now. I wish we could have all seen it.
You might need to start a podcast. Hey. That might be it.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. It's just going to be a GoPro on my shoulder the entire time.
So I will have given you a really proper introduction before the podcast, before this conversation starts. But if you want to just give me a little bit of background, what you've been up to lately for the people.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of things. But right now, we just opened up a show. For me, I started choreographing, and we just opened up a show, Magic Mike Live, in Las Vegas, which was it's actually been a huge success. I'm so stoked on. Anything Magic Mike has been pushing, and there's little secret projects and things happening. And I've actually been getting back into my acting. That's what I came out to LA to do that. So that I have my wife, I have my kids, just being me, the me that I said I was trying to be, you know, I just being creative, really.
When did you first start getting into it? Because I know you did martial arts at a young age.
Yeah.
Was that what started?
That's basically what started it. Like it's actually, well, I don't know. Like my mom used to say I used to like come into our living room and just like, I would act as like a tree. And I would stand there for like an hour just being a tree. Like, you know, you see the kids in the plays where they're like, I was the tree. Yeah. I literally was the tree with no audience.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's dedication, though. You were a method actor. You're just a tree for 3 months.
I love being method, man. And that's another thing about just being tangible and like being real is method side. That's why the film. But it's I actually did that young, and so then my parents would have like little house parties with their friends, and so they would like play music, and I would be the James Brown, so I would already be performing and stuff, and I've always done that. But yeah, so my friend gave me in a trick or treat bag when I was like 7. He gave me 7 or 8. It was like a free martial arts class. And so I took it, and then my parents, they were just like, he needs to get energy out. Let's start karate. And I loved it. And so that's really where literally anything and everything started for me. It was martial arts.
A lot of energy went into it.
Yeah.
I was into martial arts in high school, so I did it for like 5 or 6 years. It's mutual respect.
Yeah, I got you, bro.
Man, I loved it when I did it. I think for me it was like hard to go to the classes. Like I would be like, I don't know if I want to go. But once you went, you were like, oh,
Once
shit.
you're there, you're there.
Yeah,
It's like doing anything.
It really is.
It's like I don't want to work out, but when you're working out, you're like, I am the man right now. Like,
yeah, like flexing in the mirror.
Yeah, like this is what you feel, the sweat, and you're like, I did it. I accomplished. It's just the act of doing.
Yeah, because you
like
will
a
make
huge
so many
thing.
excuses for yourself to not get going.
My shoelace is untied, and I can't walk right now.
Yeah.
That's literally as real as some people will take it. Like, yeah, that's the act of doing. Like, that's why Nike is killing it. Like, just do it is.
Why change it?
Whatever. They will never. There's no point, because that statement alone can trigger anything on any level. Like, any kind of facet you have is just do it, and you're like. Okay.
I have this segment towards the end of the podcast that's quick questions, and one of them is, what's the simplest advice that's the most important to follow? Everybody says just do it. Everybody's like, just do it. Just get going.
Because even for me, like, talking about this, like, it's just do it. I learned a lot from a choreographer and a creative director that I work with. Her name's Allison Falk, and she used to dance with Janet and Pink and did literally like everybody. She's like the OG. And she brought me on to do the Magic Mike films in 2010 or 12, whenever the first one came out. And I was working with Britney with her, and her work ethic is absolutely insane. Like, I always, like, after if I even just spend an afternoon with her, I just know that I'm like, oh, Luke, pull up, because she's killing it. And that's why she's mad at successful. Like, not like, God blesses, of course, what our actions are and our persistence and our heart, but you have to do it. I mean, like, I'm like a faith-based person, and like, I mean, it even says like faith without works is dead. So you can't just be like, thank you, and it's gonna happen. It's not necessarily. You have to put the action in. That's why we have choice. That's why we have everything. That's why we have fingers to grab and to do. Like, we were meant to be on this planet to, like, literally love each other and figure things out. Like, that's it. Like, we're not supposed to Cain and Abel this whole thing.
And it does come back. It always comes back to, like, I think the arch enemy of just do it is the excuses. Like, especially when you see somebody that's successful, that's doing amazing things like she is.
Yeah.
People are like, well, she's probably well connected. Her dad probably knows somebody, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, she does the work every single day. She busts her ass.
That's exactly it. Like, emails. Like, you may not want to reply to the email, and you're like, I can wait. And then you wait, and then you miss the email, and then you're late, and then now you miss that opportunity. But if you just would have spent that time and been like, let me do this, let me take my time, focus on what it is, and then move on, that could lead to an easier thing for you to step forward on. Like, it may be tough for you to do something, but once you do it, it could actually lead to an easier like, success.
Yeah, and that goes especially for things that you're putting off. Like, I know, those things on your to-do list, you're like, man, I should really do that, but then you keep pushing it off to the next day, and
because
the next
you think
day.
You have something else too.
Yeah.
You don't. Like, point blank period. Like, you have to do it. There's no excuse, because you don't have anything else to do besides doing it, because it's already on your list to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's there for a reason to do,
When did the martial arts start to pick up? When did you start to feel like you were getting successful at it, and you were were you a quick learner in it?
Yeah, I'm naturally able to do a lot of things. Like, I can see somebody do something, and I, like, usually have always been that kid that can do it. And so martial arts was, I got in, and within, honestly, my mom will know all the details of my history of karate and stuff, but I know within, like, the first couple years, like, I want to say like 2 years or so, I got my black belt, and I was like solid in there. And a few of my buddies were doing we were doing, like, different competitions for, like, local tournaments and everything, and I just, in my age range and everything, I just was smoking them. It wasn't necessarily like I knew I was the best at it or whatnot. I just was doing it. Like I just was like, this is what you do. Like you do the punch correctly, you do the kick correctly, and if you want to add some flair, you can be creative and do it. And so I started when I was 8. I know around like 13 or so, I started competing nationally. Our local school went to a tournament, and I got destroyed out there because our sensei also put us in like the wrong categories because he had no idea. So I was like in a traditional form. Like there's a bunch of different categories. There's like extreme, there's musical forms, there's weapons, there's traditional, and then there's creative, and all those have their own set of rules. And so like in a traditional category, you do like just a traditional kata. You just the basics, and whoever can perform it and present it the best wins usually. And I was doing like backflips and like punches and stuff in the traditional, and they're like, you're disqualified.
Was it actually part of the kata, or was it?
No, I was in the wrong category. I was doing a creative form in like the I was doing like an extreme form in the traditional, like whatever it is. And I just got disqualified, and literally almost everybody got ruined that whole tournament. But it intrigued me to be like, this is something bigger than my school. This is something bigger than where I am at in Arizona. And so ever since then, I just started. I would go out to Chicago and train with a sensei out there. His name's Sensei Sharky, and he's like dad for everybody. And so they just kind of like took me under the wing and started training us. And then I would say like around 13, 14, I was like on national level, just NASCA. You might see it. It's on ESPN sometimes. It's the karate that they put on, and it's that circuit. And I was like 13, 14, like just going to town on there.
Yeah, you were, because you were what, 13-time champion in one of these.
Yeah,
leagues?
Like I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, put in
like
the work.
I does it.
Yeah. Like you said, this is like not traditional karate. Like, what is there a name for that? The blend between the backflips and all this.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of different styles. Like there's like Shorei-ryu and Kempo and.
Yeah, I did Ishin-ryu, which is a mix of Shoin-ryu and Gojin-ryu.
Yeah,
it's like, you know what I mean? There's so many different kinds.
There's literally a million different things, like Kung Fu. I mean, anything. So I did Kempo, and and I learned from a Shorei-ryu master. And there's traditional, which would just be regular, whatever your style is. If you do a Kung Fu style, you do a Kung Fu style. Like Goreju, whatever. Anything would be it. And the style that we kind of have is just extreme martial arts, which is sort of just basically the same kicks and punches, but with like different elements to it, like gymnastics or capoeira or literally anything. Like weapons would be all the extremes too. And you basically you would do like a front kick, and then you would do a jump front kick, and then you would do a backflip and a front kick while you're doing it. So then that turns into a flash kick. And so that's how it just kind of evolved from a few of the older cats from my generation, like a little older than me. They would start doing it. And so us kids were like, that's what you do. And so it just kind of like literally took over. I mean, even you see it now in like parkour, them doing all the extra flips, because it used to be parkour and then there was free running. And free running was the tricks and the flips and stuff. And now it's just kind of overall one thing. Yeah. But the free running aspect was actually from like tricking. Like all the martial artists were like doing crazy things, and then it kind of like
just evolved. Builds upon itself.
Like that whole genre of just extreme movement was just kind of evolves itself. I mean, it's like dance, and dance is just dance, but then there's subcategories.
Sure.
You know? So
yeah. I thought I was fancy with my double fake kick. Ooh. I was like, that was my move in the Yeah, that was the one. I could still do it. I can still pull it off. Hey. Do you still do martial arts at all, or has that taken a backseat to the choreography?
I haven't trained. Yeah. Like I know I can still do it. But the tricking aspect, like, because a few of our buddies, I'm like the first young generation to do tricking, what we call tricking, which would basically be the extreme flips and stuff. So there's like tricking competitions, there's all kinds of stuff of this own style, and I was like one of the first generation to do that, like as the young kids. Like the older guys were doing it, but I was like one of the first generations to like really just take it on and YouTube it and do the whole nine.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I still do some of that, especially with dance. Like there's b-boys who do tricking stuff now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it kind of implements all in just movement, really. So I still do that, but I don't really train.
Yeah,
I bet I could still get down though.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. I think it's like if you were to hop into a dojo, it wouldn't take very long to pick it up.
Let's do
I
this.
got this. Yeah. I keep thinking about that. I'm like, because a lot of people now are talking about, I think it's jujitsu. Like Joe Rogan does it, and a bunch of these other guys.
Yeah, that's like, the style that you want to do if you want to like not
choke somebody out.
Yeah, if you want to like, if you're like, oh, if I'm gonna fight, I should probably learn jujitsu.
Yeah,
because it's basically like taking them down and like basically reworking what they're fighting you with, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not gonna get hit with this. And a lot of traditional martial arts was like people respected each other, and then they fought like with punches and kicks. And we don't do that now. Like a dude's gonna sucker punch you or have a gun, and so you kind of have to like rework how they do it. You know what I mean?
It's that whole idea that like everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And if you're in an actual fight, it's some of the traditional martial arts is kind of. I think there's a lot of that muscle memory that would really help you in quick situations.
Yeah.
But it's always going to lead to a scuffle.
Oh,
it's always going to end up on the ground.
100%. So Sensei Sharky actually, I never got my black belt from Sensei Sharky because I was already a black belt and I didn't need to train in the style, but I overheard in how he handles his black belts is you go through a full day of training. Like they shut the dojos, they lock you in there, and you do every kata, you do everything like muscle memory, every technique, everything. Then you do it with people attacking you, doing it at the same time. And then at the very end, after push-ups, the whole nine, you getting kicked and beat up. He's at the end of the studio and he's like, get to me. And he has all the black belts lined up and you just have to get to him. Like, it doesn't matter. You have to like poke them and grab them and bite them and like rip them and like do anything, because in a real scenario, that's what it would be. You know what I mean? You have to fight for it. You're not going to just be like, punch me correctly. You know, like this is what I should do, because it's not really going to happen. No one ever really punches correctly. You know, someone's going to be like,
it's
sucker
gonna come
punch.
out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
they're gonna sucker punch you in some kind of way. So it's just like, that's why jujitsu is huge, because people are like, just let me handle it.
Yeah, that's one of the special things too about martial arts is the rising up the ranks and like reaching new levels and like going for the black belt.
Yeah,
it's not going to be easy. That's going to be such a memorable experience of like overcoming that. I did it. There was like a camp that I went away to do it, and it was the most intense 3 days of my life.
Yeah, it's
just
no joke, man.
Yeah, like I remember, like we took a little break for breakfast, and there was this tray of watermelon, and I was in the back of the line, and everybody's taking the watermelon, and it's going quick, and I'm like I'm like dying of thirst. I'm like, I need some watermelon. I got up to the line, it was all gone. They're about to take the tray away, and there was like discarded remnants of like some like half piece of. I was like, hold that tray. Yeah. Like I'm grabbing that watermelon.
I gotta have it.
Yeah. Like it felt so good. And they're like, oh shit. All right, cool. Like this guy's not very wasteful, but it's super intense.
Yeah. We, at the end of our black belt test, he did it for every belt, but this one you did it for mad long. And it was a full long ceremony of after you did all of your techniques, but you take off your old belt, you put it down in front of you, and you get your other belt, and you bow and you put your head on it and you just rub until like it gets red, and you just have to like rub blood and sweat into your belt, because that's what you put into what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's like now it already has what you've been through, and now you need to make this more than what it is. And actually, that's actually funny, me thinking about it. Like that's kind of what you need to do in life. Like all the blood, sweat, tears, and everything that you've put into what your craft is, when you get to what you think you got, you need to acknowledge that you put that into it, and then push past what that was. Like don't let a goal end you. You know, like don't let a goal just be. Don't let the black belt be the black belt, because there's 10th degree black belts. So now you have to go through years of getting the second black belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's probably why they did that, which is like,
that's crazy.
It's not just you're done. It's like next, because, and that can affect a lot of people in a negative way, is that you're pushing and Jim Carrey talks about this a lot. He's got a new documentary called Jim and Andy, which is
that
amazing.
Guy's going. He's like, on one right now.
Oh, he
man.
really is,
I
man.
love it.
And he, but like, it's this thing. He's like, he is in a unique position to be able to say, I got everything I ever wanted, but I was still unhappy. And it's like, so it's not getting there. It's not getting the mansion, the money and the cars and all this stuff that's going to make you happy. It's going to be, there's going to be a lot of different things, but it's about doing that work that you truly love and are fulfilled with.
Yeah. And that's why I always talk about tangible and things that are, that are genuine now, because I always look at like back in the day, or like my grandfather was he was a farmer, and just to me, putting the work into things and seeing older generations, usually just like older generations of like when there wasn't technology and all these things, you had to do something, and you had to do a craft. Or even if you were a wanderer, you're not like a gypsy wanderlust kind of person like people are now. You were still like, you were a true wanderer. Like you really walked miles, and then you got picked up by somebody in a van or something, and then they took you somewhere else, and then you learned something else from a different person. And now it's sort of like a fad to be this thing. But I like being like genuine and learning a craft and learning things that are like real in a sense. And I just been enjoying that lately. Like I picked up a guitar, and I was like, I say I want to do a guitar, but I'm not putting the effort into learning how to play a guitar. So I'm actually learning how to play a guitar and putting that time and that effort into it, and then having that for myself to like present,
it also, those kind of things take you out of your head. I know, like whenever I'd be anxious or I'd be really nervous about something, a big thing coming up, whether it's a screening to a film or whatever, it's pulling out the guitar, just playing a little bit, and then everything else goes away, and I can just focus on that thing.
Because you're not, because this isn't the world in a sense. You know what I mean? This isn't it has the world in it pretty much, but
or like a representation of what the world is.
It's like the world is literally where we are right now. Like these wooden floors and this roof over our head. Like I don't know when this was built, but it looks like a 40s, like a 1940s kind of place. Cuz I used to live on Whitley at the Fontenoy.
Oh yeah.
If you look at it, it has the giant red letters, and it was a 1920s built all the way back then, and I just like that realism of what things are, and it takes you away from being like artificial. Like I'm glad that people are going like raw sugar and honey and stuff versus like this Splenda and like this fake sugar things that they're making, because we're real people. I like being real, and I like feeling and noticing that we're real versus the screen that if it goes black, if the phones literally go black, what do I have? You know what I mean? Like, am I putting my life into a piece of metal, or am I putting my life into me? Like taking the guitar, getting out of myself and putting myself into something that I can work on or grow with, or even this photography. If I could probably make my own Lightroom eventually, like and know how to do it versus digitalizing everything and just letting it be, because then it's gone if it's gone. You know what I mean? There's nothing real there. I just I've been trying to be as present, almost like Jim Carrey's been saying. He's like, go out into the nature, and I felt so much better. And I'm like, I love that. Like I love that. And I think that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Is I sort of got out of who I was thinking I was, because I was making my phone myself. Like I was making my selfie who I am versus looking at myself. You know what I mean? And working on my heart and working on my characters versus working on my clothing or my just my style or what I think is cool because someone else is cool. Like I'm not gonna be a rapper. I was trying to be a rapper too. Like I was doing all kinds of things, like nonsense. And I was like, I'm not a rapper. I'm not gonna be a rapper. I could probably rap.
It could be a fun hobby.
Yeah, I could do it, but it's like that's not who I am. Yeah. Like I didn't grow up in the slums trying to. That's the only thing I knew. You know, I grew up trying to do all kinds of things. So why would I? Because that guy's doing it. Yeah.
Do you meditate at all?
Yeah, I pray all the time. Like morning and night. I pray with my wife too. We just like focus, and I've gotten more into that, a lot more. Like, cause you need to, like, you really need to have that time because we're so fast paced. Like, I don't know about you, but time is flying. Like we're in December right now.
Yeah.
And I remember 2015. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, that's 3 years ago now, almost.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm taking that time to like.
Now that you got a kid too, man, it's gonna fly by even quicker.
Oh, 100%. Like my son is 3 months now, and it's like I remember because I've been having to go back and forth from Atlanta, literally everywhere. I've been going from Atlanta, Vegas, London, and here, and so I've been literally bouncing around. That I haven't really seen him almost since he was born. I was there when he was born and being with my wife and everything, but then I've been bouncing around. That I had like a week, and then I came back and just seeing him like on FaceTime and stuff, it's just like he's huge and he's like growing and he's learning and he's like holding his head up and he's doing things that I think that we take for granted. You know what I mean? Like seeing the baby grow is literally seeing like a flower grow. You know what I mean? It's happening. It's literally blossoming. It's literally happening at that moment. And I think we take it for granted because we're trying to get a selfie or whatever it may be, you know?
Yeah, I have the same thing. I don't have a kid, but my nephew.
Yeah.
He turned a year old recently, and it's just wild to see the growth in a year because day to day there you don't see any change.
Yeah.
But like holy shit, over the course of a year, I'm like this kid's running
Completely
around.
different.
He's like a tyrant now.
Yeah,
He's
like,
starting to talk a little bit.
Yeah. Realistically, we don't know what to do, but we know that we need to do something, you know? And I think that yearn for what it is that we need to do is better than pity.
Yeah, I sometimes think about that. Think about all right, what drives me. Like, why do I keep making stuff? Why would I work on a new film? And it's like in large part because I know what it's like to not do all that stuff and just to be sedentary. Like I've certainly been lazy. I've wasted summers away.
Yeah.
That is like the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah.
When you're not creating, when you're just binge watching TV or
100%.
reality TV or whatever it is, you're like, and then regretting the fact that you didn't go out and make this stuff and create art.
What's the is it retrospect is always 2020 or hindsight's always 2020? It makes sense. Like you look back and you're like, I could have done a million different things.
Yeah.
But also you're meant to be where you are right now. You know what I mean? Like I'm meant to be talking to you right now.
Yeah.
You know, we could be dead. Like that's a huge thing I always think about too. Is like that flood that happened in India not too long ago. I think a lot of people just kind of like bypassed it because of all the things that happened here, you know. But in India, it was like 12,000 people died or something in a flood or something crazy, and I was like, that's so many people.
It's crazy.
And they were sleeping or whatever, and then it happened and they're gone. Like that was it, you know. And it's just like we're meant to be where we are right now, you know. And if we have like anything negative or we have anything that's not right, we need to work on that. Like me stepping out and just working on myself. Like I found out that I was mad selfish, you know. I was I'm still low-key am, you know, and just losing that alone as a characteristic in life is huge. Or I tend to or like you might be you might do something that you don't know you do. And the only way that you'll learn it is if someone presents it to you or if you acknowledge it yourself. You look in the mirror and you're like, oh, that's right. You know what I mean? And that's really where you better yourself versus bettering a craft. Like you better yourself as a person. Like that's why people are doing yoga and taking care of themselves, but they're not always taking care of their heart, you know? Yeah.
I had this mindset early on, which was, what do I want? What can I get? And it was all about me. It was all about what I wanted. And it was all about like how much money I could make and, you know, what kind of car I could get and blah, blah, blah. And then eventually it was like, once I started to get all that stuff, I started to pay down my debt, my student loans and all that. It was, I still like Jim Carrey. I was like, oh, well, you know what? I'm not happy now. This didn't make me content in and of itself. So then it was flipping it around and asking, what can I give? Like, what can I offer? What can I provide? How can I help people? And I find that coming from that mindset, and like you said, there is that push pull where like, of course you're always going to be thinking a little bit like, oh, what do I want? Or like, what can I create that's going to be exciting? But if you're able to come back into that mindset of how can I help, I find it to be much more fulfilling.
100%. That's the whole point of people. Like I was saying, we're here to love each other and work it out, help each other. Like truly, like what can I give? What can I do? And it's tough. I mean, that's like the never ending thing that we need to work on as people, is just to be better, you know, is to love, truly love though. Like give you my jacket if it's cold. Not like, oh, let's go get you a jacket. No, I'll give you my jacket off my back. You know what I mean? That's the love for you. Not, I have an extra one in here because you need it now. You know what I mean? Like,
it means sometimes more to you to be able to give when you don't have much. Yeah, the guy that got me into minimalism, simple living, and all this kind of thinking was actually Tom Shadyac. If you heard of him, he directed a documentary called I Am, but he also did.
I've literally seen the little letterhead.
So he's actually he did all the Jim Carrey, Bruce Almighty, all those big, massive films. So his whole story was he got everything he ever wanted, 10,000, 15,000 square foot mansion, moved in because people told him that's what he should want. Yeah. Realizing like, this doesn't make me happy. I'm not fulfilled with this lifestyle. And then he kind of reverted. Now he lives in, or at least last I heard, he lives in a trailer park home in Malibu, like beautiful little home, but it's like everything he needs.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're an excessive people.
Yeah, especially we definitely are, and I wonder. Like, I'm kind of on the outskirts of the entertainment industry. I'm more indie. You're kind of more embedded in it. Is this kind of thinking not as prevalent? Is it there's more of a pull towards consumerism in it?
Yes and no. I think the artists within tend to be genuine. I mean, you can always spot. There's always some kind of presentation on commercializing. I've noticed that actually a lot of people lately are becoming more real, like in general. Like, we're not looking at the fake pop princesses, pop stars and stuff anymore.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is maintaining integrity and being true to yourself. Yeah. We actually recently, so I made a documentary called Minimalism, and in it, the minimalists are like the main guys, and they run a simple living blog about minimalism and about simple living and paring down. And we recently created a physical good, a product. We made like an Indiegogo campaign for a bag. It's this really cool travel minimalist bag. It's got like these really functional compartments.
Sick.
But the whole messaging around that and creating that, we were like, all right, first of all, can we ethically and morally create a physical good, add another thing in this world, but be ethical about it? And like, you know, we're not trying to sell 1 million of these, but obviously we want it to be viable, and we want people who could actually get value from it to get it. So it's like, all right, that was really one of the hardest videos I've ever made, because I made the Indiegogo videos and everything else surrounding it. It's like, how do I make this messaging? The minimalists are selling a bag. How do I actually get this across? Yeah. And we ended up ending the video. Josh wrote it, but it was really off the cuff on the day of, where he was like, he just like was talking directly to the camera, saying, he's like, listen, like, we made a bag, but it doesn't mean that you need it. It doesn't mean that you should want it. If you do not need this bag, please do not buy it. You'll be totally fine without it. It's just a bag. Yeah. And it's like, everybody like reacted so well to that, and it was they're like, holy shit, like, somebody's selling me a bag, but they're telling me if I don't need it, don't buy it. Like, when does that ever happen?
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
It doesn't happen.
But it honestly made those who were supporting us and supporting our message be that much more dedicated and loyal to us. And a lot of people are like, I don't need the bag, I'm not going to buy it. But I'll share it with my friends, because I think other people might get value from it.
And that's a thing too. It's like, what, in a sense of being commercial, like, how do you be genuine? You know, like, how do you sell something genuinely? And that's exactly an example. Like, how do you sell yourself genuinely? Like, how do I present myself as a creative artist and be like who I am, but then not like, I'll do anything that you need me to do, but I also got to be genuine to myself. Like, you know, I'm not going to do this role, or I will do this, or I won't choreograph that, or I will do this. And that's just tough. Like, what do you bring to the world that we don't already have? Like Tesla, like, he's the only person that's really, I see, on the mass scale, making goods for the better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
tough.
that's one of those things where I'm like, shit, I would love to have like one of the solar homes that he's creating. So
100%.
everything fully sustainable.
Everything.
Have a Tesla car because it's going to be.
I want the truck. I want the giant. I want the Tesla like the semi.
A truck, like,
just
badass.
fly.
Yeah. Bring all your friends
the red
around
one in there, yo. I want that.
But it's like the stuff that he's creating is going to be good for the environment. He's proving that you can bring great design, beautiful products into the world, and it doesn't need to actually hurt the world.
Yeah, that's like what Apple did. Apple was like, look, here's all this good in this one little thing, right? And look how minimal it is. There's nothing else to it. Like, so it's tough when it comes to like even like clothing or like bags and stuff. It's like the bag, it's like you only need one bag, I guess, right? Like if you have less, you need less, and if you only have one, then that's all you need, unless it breaks, and then you got to get another one or whatever. But we're at an age where we want everything because we sort of feel like we do, and that I think that space is because we are absent with who we are. You know what I mean? Like that's why I am picking up my film camera and stuff, because like I love taking photos, but then I was like, let me get something real, because that actually makes me feel better than just splurging on all these photos and all these things. I was like, I would like one thing and one thing to work on versus a million things that I can't comprehend.
When did things start taking off for you in terms of the dancing and choreography? When did that start to pick up? Like pretty young, right?
Yeah. I moved out to LA. We lost our house in 2007 with the whole market crash and everything. I watched The Big Short, and I didn't know anything at the time. Like my mom was a mortgage underwriter, so she got hit the hardest, like with everybody. And I watched The Big Short on a plane one time with Allison, actually. And I was watching it, and I just kept being like looking at her and being like, this happened to me. Like this literally happened to me. Like I didn't know, because I was young. I was like 15 or so, 15, 16. And so we left Arizona and we came to LA. And I was kind of going back and forth anyway, trying to do acting. And I did like this talent scout thing that they saw in Arizona, and nobody called me back. All right, well, that was kind of defeating. So finally we came out to LA and we got an agent. I got an agent, and I didn't even have to like audition. I just went in and talked to them, and they were like, "Cool, like you're a really cool kid. Like we'll sign you." And so literally from there, I started booking, like from that audition or from that signing. Actually, they signed me that day, and I went to downtown and I booked it was either I think it was like a photo shoot, like a Getty Images stock photo shoot, like that same day, or it was a commercial. I can't remember if it was the Time Warner commercial or something, but I booked something that same day. And so it kind of motivated me to be like, oh, I can do something. Yeah. So I started bouncing around doing little things out here, like a million different little things, like just commercials or Nickelodeon things, and being around. And dance took off when I was 16. I drove my friend to an audition. I started dancing for a little bit. I won a scholarship to a big dance school out here. And I won a scholarship by doing literally the tricking, all the crazy flips and stuff that I was doing, but I didn't know how to dance. So I just flipped around, and I got the scholarship. So I started taking classes. And so I met a guy there, Michael, one of my good friends. We have a crazy story. And I drove him to the audition when I was 16, and I didn't have a dance agent. I had my acting agent. I had my acting headshot with this short haircut and like this baby face. I was like 15 when I got this shot. And he was like, just take the class. He's like, just audition with me. It's like taking a class. Like if they cut you, at least you learn choreography from big choreographers, and call it a day, and you get to experience what it was. And I was like, okay. So I signed in with his agency, and he got, it sucks. He got cut, and I kept going. I kept standing, and I drove him to the audition. So he's like waiting for it. Yeah, it was really bad. I felt bad. Yeah. And then he eventually got a ride home and stuff. But then the audition went all the way through, and I got all the way to the end. And then callbacks were the next day. And then there was the director, Jamie King. He's done a million different things, a billion different tours. He used to dance with Michael. The guy is like a superstar of show directing, and he like spots me out, and he like looks at my headshot. He's like, Luke, he was like, will you get this choreography down? And I was like, yeah, because I don't know, I literally know nobody. And so he calls me out, and I was like, yeah. I go home that night. I take the mirror off my mom's like dresser that she had, and I put it in my room. I'm just doing the choreography nonstop over and over and over. So the next day it was a full audition. Britney came in that same day, and
what was this? This was for Britney.
This is actually for Britney. Yeah. So then the second day comes in, we do the audition, and right at the end, they were just like, "Okay, cool. You guys are the guys for tour," and I was like, okay, yeah, cool, sure. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, literally, I have no idea. I'm just learning choreography and doing it. Like, there's not any kind of, there's nothing in my head that has anything to do with this. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, cool, rehearsals are tomorrow. And so literally the next day after the auditions was rehearsal. And then ever since then, I literally have just been working as a professional dancer. Like, I learned the best I could in that professional aspect. Like, because I was working with the biggest director, like, I think at the time, like, all these different choreographers, like, top choreographers at the time. Britney was fresh out of 2007, so this is like her comeback tour. Yeah, it was like the thing, like, it was like the thing for that entire community, and I booked.
Imagine where your life would be if you didn't go.
I don't even know. Like, that's why I'm saying I'm meant to be where I'm meant to be at this moment. Like,
can't overthink it.
Yeah, no. Because even during the audition process, like, I just was like, I just want, because whatever this is fun. Like, I like doing it. Mm-hmm. The energy is cool. I like moving. I like acting. So it's like acting's like sort of like, dancing is sort of like movement acting. Like, I'm portraying something through what it is. And they asked me like my age too, and I was like, yeah, I'm 17. I'm gonna be 18. I already graduated out of high school because I graduated online because we had to move because we lost our house. So I came out and I just finished online as quick as I could, and so I was able to work as an adult out here. And so they called my mom and they were like, "Is he really 17?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Ma, just yo, like, hustle, yo, you got this. We're about to change. I'm about to change our life right now." Yeah. So she's like, yeah, woo, woo, woo. And they're like, okay, cool. And they didn't check, like,
they didn't check your ID or anything like that. Yeah.
I was 16.
If you had an ID,
I don't even know. Maybe
make a fake one.
Driver's permit. I don't know what it was, but and then and so ever since then I was just like working that. So that really set me off for anything in the industry, which was huge. Like, it's such a blessing, to be honest. Like,
I mean, that's honestly where you're gonna learn the most, is just from actually doing it and doing the work. It's not like through an internship or in the classroom. That's not where you're gonna learn. Yeah, and
it's funny. I was reading something about like applying for a job. Like, it was something, and I think it was reading an article where it was like they were talking about how kids don't have they don't have the experience, but they don't have the opportunity to experience it, to have the experience to qualify for the job. Yeah. So I was like, dang, that's crazy, because like, if I'm supposed to have 5 years of retail experience, but I can't even get the job because I have no experience, how do I do that? Like, I don't even know the loophole behind that. Like, you can't intern at a clothing company or a McDonald's. Like, you can't intern that or whatever. And so, like, I was just like, oh, that's insane. And so luckily, like, I'm so blessed to have that, because I learned exactly what to do and when to do it and how to do it at its highest level, like at what you do. Yeah. I learned it. And then ever since then, I was like, okay, I got this. Like, I know how to present myself in the way that we need to present yourself.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake that kids make, especially in college, is that they just do what's on the syllabus. And that was like a lot of my friends, a lot of people I knew back in college, they weren't really exploring outside of that. So then by the time that you graduate, you got a resume with just a degree on it, but no actual experience. And like you said, a lot of people, I know it's fucked up, but they say you need this experience in order to get this job. You need 2 years experience, whatever. And you're like, but this is entry level.
Yeah. Like, I don't. Exactly.
So you got to put in the work beforehand, though. You got to, like, outside 100%. Of school, do the internships, whatever you can while you're in college. Yeah. Like, you can party and you can have fun on the weekends.
But that literally does nothing for you.
Yeah.
It literally does nothing for you. Like, it kind of works in with what I'm saying, and I learned through martial arts and through tricking and through the experience of performing martial arts, like even in shows and stuff, that you need to present yourself with all these different levels of what you have, And so I know that through that audition, I was flipping my face off. Like I was doing anything and everything that I had like to give. Like I knew I could flip. I knew I did martial arts, so I was clean with the lines and stuff. I took direction well just from different acting things. Like I just knew that's what I had. Like that's all I had. But I had more than nothing. Like I didn't present myself with just a headshot and being like, this is what I got. I got nothing. I actually had other things underneath, and then when I presented it, then I was able to like step forward on that. And
exactly.
And so like you can't present yourself with a resume with nothing on it.
So that was what, you were 15, 16 years old, and you just get thrown into this crazy world of traveling and dancing and working.
Was nuts.
I'm sure it was
absolutely nuts. Dude.
And I mean, it makes sense in terms of what you're talking about before, where you don't really get to figure out who you are. You don't really get that much downtime to figure out, all right, this is who I am. This is how I want to portray myself in the world.
Yeah.
So
not at all.
When was that? When was that moment where you started to take a step back? How many years?
It was years later that I was like, okay, I really need to step back. And, it was after, for me, so I did Britney in 2009. I did Jonas Brothers and Demi Lovato in 2010. Then I did Britney again in 2011. We did the movies around the Magic Mike movies around that time. Then I hopped on Bieber's tour in 2012 and 13. And then right after Bieber, I went on Derulo. And so that's Derulo, Jason Derulo's tour was like my end all peak of what I'm doing. Like I started getting into this facade of like in the dance realm, I felt like I was the dude, like in that industry. I was like, I'm the guy. Because I just was hopping on tour to tour to tour, and the big tours too. And then when I was with Bieber, it just I kind of had that validation with him that I was cool. Like me and him are cool. Like and like we would have moments, we would talk deep, and then and then he's Bieber again. But but like I mean, you have to be,
Sure.
But I just had this moment of like I'm the guy. Like even on tour, I was like a veteran versus a newbie in 2009 with the Britney tour. So then I just sort of drifted away into who I thought I was versus who I really was. I like was losing myself because I had that validation from different stars or whatever and thinking that I'm this, but I'm really not. Like I really just wanted to be an actor and chill and have a humbled moment. And finally, like at the end of Derulo, I just like I couldn't. Like I was gone too long. I was losing myself. I was doing all kinds of drugs. I was literally like rock star moment. I had long hair, I had nose ring, earrings, and like I got a couple tattoos, and I was just like, I am this image versus I am who I am. And that was like the peak. Like we left South Africa after doing a show. And I just was like, I got on the plane stumbling, like high and drunk, and I just couldn't. Like I was like, I'm not anything who I am. I'm not anything that my mom would be proud of. Like I literally felt like I'm not anything, even though to some people I was the man. You know what I mean? Like I'm presenting the wrong man. And so that was the peak. Like I just couldn't be who I thought I was anymore.
That's crazy, man.
It was nuts.
Yeah, shit. It's hard to unplug from that.
Like even like social media was like my life in a sense. Like I was hustling it. I grow up and I've grown up in like this tech savvy world. Like I grew up like Twittering and Facebooking and Instagramming and everything, and then I was with the stars and the celebrities, and it's just like it made me be like, even though I wasn't the star or the celebrity, like I was attaching myself to that. And I think that's where a lot of people are going wrong, is we're thinking that we're part of something if we have the same clothes or we have the whatever. But like realistically, I don't have the same pressures as Justin. I have different ones. I have my own battles and my own things. But because we're cool or we're this or we're that, I feel attached to that. And so I'm taking that on. Like if I look at an Instagram post of seeing somebody wearing like really cool clothes and I'm like, oh, I want that, or I am that, or I can be that, but that's not really who I am. Like, is that really inspiring, or is it because it has like 20,000 likes or something, and it's popular, and it makes it feel like that's important?
It's hard when that's not you. And you're like, because, dude, I was there when I first started out. It was like filming in the sneaker culture, and I would get like, I had 10, 15 pairs of sneakers. I would get all these new apparel and stuff, and I felt cool because I was like, my friends really appreciated that. If I got a new pair of sneakers, they would call me out on it. But like, it didn't take very long for me to realize, well, this isn't me. Like, I don't really care about the sneakers. I could wear the same pair of sneakers. Yeah. Like, these days I wear a gray t-shirt, and that's all I wear every day. And yeah, exactly. And I don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody said anything to me.
Yeah.
I think we project that on ourselves.
100%.
When you're in that circle, you kind of feel like, oh, I want to be like them, but really they just want you to be yourself. For the most people just want you to be yourself and just be comfortable in yourself, and people will gravitate to that.
That's a huge thing. And in a sense, I always kept myself. Like, I think that's also why I was able to go this long with doing things. I was always myself. I was always able to still be cool, Luke, and fun and all these things. But deep down, I was like, I know I'm doing the wrong thing. Like, I just know I'm doing the wrong things, or even little actions, even personal life and stuff. I was like treating things poorly because I think differently. Like, I'm thinking, like, I'm making myself think that way, even though deep down I don't feel that way, you know? And I'm actually reading a book called Positive Thinking Changed My Life. And it's literally just, he's like, don't feed into the thought. Like, don't, like, if I know that, I don't like purple, let me not think about purple. Like, let me just not think about it. And if it does pop up, think about green. And they just don't entertain the Barney. Oh, no, it's Barney. And like, you have to tap out of the thought of it.
We interviewed Rick Hansen, who he's, I think, it's not a neuroscientist, but he's a psychologist and really brilliant guy. He's written a bunch of books on it, like Buddha's Brain. But he said that it's like the negative thoughts and negative emotions are like Velcro. It's because that's how we learn, and that's how we adapt, and that's how we know not to touch the stove. Yeah. It's like that thing is going to, if you touch a stove once and you get burnt, you're going to make sure that memory is never forgotten. But the good stuff just kind of bounces. It's like a Teflon. It just bounces right off. Yeah. So you need to actually put in the extra effort to say, 100%. All right, this positive experience I had, I need to recall this. I need to appreciate it. I need to bring it up and talk about it more. Yeah. And then the negative thoughts, let's just, I mean, maybe see a therapist. Like, you know what I mean? Don't ignore it completely. But at the same time, don't let it run your life.
100%. And it's funny because, like, it's just people's nature too. Like, I don't have to teach my children to be bad. Like, my daughter's naturally going to smack the other little kid or something, just naturally, because they do that. And then you're like, no, don't do that. Like, naturally in our nature, we do the wrong thing. Like, and it's really switching that up and putting that in us and being like, don't do it.
All right, man. You want to wrap this up with some quick questions?
Holla, let's do this.
Cool, man. When are you happiest?
Ooh. Honestly, I'm one of the happiest when I am performing in any kind of way. Like, if it's on stage, or if it's dancing, or if it's just moving in general with people, or my wife, even just like moving. I just love moving, like, regardless. So I'm probably the happiest when I'm moving.
Where do you go when you're feeling doubt?
I go to God. I pray. And that's really it. Like, I'm like, all right, Jesus, let's talk.
What one skill have you leveraged in a way that you think others haven't?
Skill? I don't know. I'm skillful in going with the flow. Like, I am smooth with riding out and just making it happen. Any kind of thing that you're going through, let's go.
I think I know the answer to this question, but the simplest advice that's the most important to follow.
Actually, the simplest advice would be to love. Like, love regardless, love always. Love today and tomorrow, loved yesterday. Hopefully you can love tomorrow if it comes. and just do it.
Cool. 2 more questions.
Boom.
What one thing should people read, watch, or listen to before they go to bed tonight? So
Ooh.
could be anything, but something that's been inspirational to you.
Ooh. Oh man. There's a lot of things I've been reading and stuff. Honestly, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or the Proverbs. I've been reading Ecclesiastes. I go to the good book all the time, man. I'm just because it's funny how ancient a book can be, and yet how relevant it can be even to this day. That you wouldn't think that a book from thousands of years ago would still be like, oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So read the Bible, man.
Cool. And then how should people connect with you online? Where can they see your stuff?
Yeah. My name is Luke Broadlick on everything. So Broadlick.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah, cool, brother.
All right. That's it. That's the end of the show. Beep bop bop. Hope you guys had a great holidays. As always, I appreciate you listening to the show, and you know what I really appreciate? I appreciate when you leave ratings and reviews on iTunes. You know why I ask you guys every episode to do that? Because I don't know what I'm doing. I think it's gonna help. I'm actually not that sure. I'm pretty sure, I feel like if I had a bunch of really good ratings, then more people would like the show. I think it actually would also help me with guests. So if a guest is like, is this show legit? And they go over to iTunes and there's like 500 5-star reviews. Oh, okay. People will listen to this podcast, because there's no way to tell how many downloads I have. People could ask me. I could lie. I wouldn't lie. It's not that many, but it's growing. It's doing better than it was doing when I first started out. But yeah, if you could leave a rating, that's the point. Take 10 seconds, go to iTunes, leave a rating. I think if a review probably would help too, but 10 seconds for a rating, give it another 20 for a review, click post, and that's it. That's all you have to do. And what it does is it makes me feel really warm. I check them every once in a while. I'm trying to keep you guys honest and see if you guys are actually following through. But I don't know. I guess at this point, I should probably just stop the outro because I'm not saying anything of value. So, as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next Wednesday.